Alright, welcome. This is Underground World News. I'm calling it Underground World News because Dabu 777 would be the inspiration for it. I'm not stealing it, not copying him. I'm just not taking the time to come up with anything better. But yes, this is an edition in my version of Underground World News. I'm just gonna calling it Underground News for now. What I want to cover is the upcoming market crash, economic collapse, economic meltdown, the end all be all of the financial world as we know it. There's no escaping it. It will affect everybody on planet Earth, from the richest trust fund babies driving around in Ferraris to the poor farmers in the middle of nowhere. Everybody will feel the effects of this ripple. It's not so much a ripple as much of a tsunami that's going to cover the earth. There are a lot of I'm going to be discussing steps that you can take to protect yourself. I'm also going to do my best to, I guess you can say, predict when this will happen, though my guess is as good as anybody's guess. I know that there are some of you out there that think that, well, it's never going to happen. They're just going to find a way to kick the can down the road over and over again. They're going to start a world war to reset the markets. They're going to do anything and everything within their power to maintain their control that they have over us being slaves, waking up and working for the man. Even if you own your own business, you're still working for the man. You're still following their rules. I mean, some rules are good, like you can't dump toxic waste in public drinking water. That's just one rule, which is good, because there are dumb people out there that just don't care. Um, but look at the options that you have to purchase materials for whatever your business is. It's all corporatized. It's all everything is making its way towards the top of the pyramid. Take Amazon, for example, purchasing Whole Foods. What do they need to purchase for people to realize that they are becoming the exact monopoly that is the antithesis of freedom? They purchased Whole Foods. They have I believe they are the largest online store in the world. Um, so if they purchase a shipping company or oil companies, will people finally realize and say, wow, they're going to corner the three most basic necessities on planet Earth of modern life, and that just comes down to, no matter what you do, you are a debt slave. You are a slave if you own your own business, or if you wake up and you go work for somebody else for minimum wage. You are a slave. There are, and if you look into the facts about the American history of slavery, there are different levels of slavery. There are the slaves who did not obey at all, and they were treated the worst. And there were slaves who obeyed a little bit, and there were indentured servants, and so on and so forth. And so, no matter where you put yourself, middle class, lower class, upper class, manual labor, administrative, you're a slave. And that's the bottom line. And so, you really don't have a choice in life. It's everybody's destiny is pretty much be born, go to school, um, work for the man, get cancer, and everything that you've worked for will disappear while you pay for it. The costs incurred by whatever illness it is that you inherit. Such a lovely world we live in. However, this control that they have over us, their strength is also their weakness. If you haven't done any research into what fractional reserve banking is, 9/10 banking, you could go back and you can do the research. The Federal Reserve Act of 1913, where a whole bunch of prominent bankers and businessmen orchestrated a market collapse to remove the faith in the current financial system. They gathered on a private island off the coast of the state of Georgia, and they conspired to create the third central bank. This was a bank that was of great controversy in the initial years following the inception of America. Politicians, as in the case of Aaron Burr, actually settled disputes with a Mexican standoff. And so what you have to realize here is that this system of debt, where they print out money out of thin air. Every time the government goes to pay bills, it just prints out more money, while you are left having to spend your time acquiring more money to pay for new ways, whether it be Republican or Democrat, coming up with new reasons for you to pay more money, different type of insurances, more taxes, more this, more that. The government can just print out money to pay for their bills, and every time they print out money, the money in your pocket loses its strength. The money in your pocket loses a percentage of its worth. And this is what's called inflation. Now, this is one of the prime methods of control that they have over us. However, as with every single fiat currency, this is another name for fractional reserve. What we call it is a fiat currency. It is not backed by anything, not backed by gold, not backed by silver. It is merely a promise. This fiat currency, every fiat currency in the history of fiat currencies has collapsed. And every fiat currency will collapse. And we are getting very close to that time. One of the best examples that you can look at two of the best examples that you can look at. The first being the Weimar Republic, which is known as Germany, the hyperinflationary event. This is what created the political and economic atmosphere to give rise to Hitler and the Nazis. Another example, this is just two of many, but another example is Venezuela. Right now, they're experiencing hyperinflation. And a few of the symptoms of hyperinflation is the inability for people to purchase the basic necessities. Now, I don't have the figure in front of me, but I've heard something like a cup of coffee now goes for 1,000 or 10,000 of their dollars. Just to give you an idea of what hyperinflation is. The cup of coffee that costs you $2.50 or $5, wherever you go and purchase this coffee, will one day become $500 because the government decided that they had to print out more and more and more and more and more money in a very short period of time. This is why it's called hyperinflation. Hyper being very fast. And within a span of a few months, that change gets to about 500 or 1,000 or 5,000 or $10,000 for a cup of coffee. Now, one thing that is a fact, and has always been a fact, is there are tangible assets that not only maintain their value throughout a hyperinflationary event, but increase in value. Sometimes they double, they go up tenfold, 100-fold, whatever it is. And so, instead of fearing the change that is inevitable for not only America but the entire world, you can look at it as an opportunity to take control of your life. Now, I know there are some people out there who do enjoy their job, and they do feel like their occupation not only provides for what they need in life, but it also provides their soul. It makes the person feel as though they are making a positive change in this world. But that's, for the majority of the world, that is not true. I myself have taken a job of more humbler means because I am more concerned with the impact that it has, that my choices have with the world. The occupation that I've chosen, I feel, is one of the most. It doesn't pay well, and it's a very brutal job. However, I feel as though I'm doing the least amount of harm to the planet in terms of the resources and the demand that it puts on the planet. For example, I will never be a deep sea oil rig worker because I love the environment too much. I love Mother Nature too much. Mother Nature, Father Nature, whatever it is, Gaia. And so, in my younger years, I definitely feared the change that was heading our way like like a freight train going down the tracks, and you're stuck to the tracks. But um, through my years of studying and learning, I've learned that there are things that you can do to, at the very least, maintain your position in this world, whatever that means. And not only that, but you can attain riches beyond your wildest dreams. Because this is not just... And let me clarify when I say market crash, economic collapse, economic meltdown. Basically what I'm saying is the sectors of the economy. And the economy is different from the stock market. The economy is the jobs. The economy is the price of food. The economy is the price of gas. The economy is the price of energy. And many other things. And yes, the stock markets through futures. Through futures, which is speculations by people in suit and ties. Speculations based upon, for example, wheat futures, the wheat, what we use to make bread. Wheat futures are done, I hope I'm not getting this wrong, by people who inspect the harvest, the quantity of the harvest, and the quality of the harvest, regarding the condition of it, and the protein content of the wheat, and that causes them to price the futures. And the futures tell the farmers and they tell the supermarket owners what they're going to be able to charge for bread. More or less. And I could have gotten that wrong. But that just goes to show that, yes, the stock market does have some impact on commodities, but that's not what I am talking about. What I am talking about when I say economic meltdown, economic collapse, is what you'll see in the news today, what they call a global slowdown, an economic slowdown. Things are not getting better, regardless of who you voted for or what you think about the government and our current administration. Whether you believe the figures that they tell you or not, things are not getting better. Stores are closing down. Food is getting more expensive. It's losing its quality. All across the board. And there are some places that have a moment of invigoration, but it doesn't last. Jobs are fleeing every country because the current model that we have in this world is wrong. And it is my belief that there is no fixing it. Well, I shouldn't say that, but we'll save that for another episode. I say there's no fixing it with the politicians that we have. And the politicians that they offer us. Because until you get, as Dabu says, until you get a blue-collar worker or just somebody who is truly one of the people, we will not see any type of positive change in this world. But this economic slowdown, this market crash, excuse me, I don't want to say market crash because we could see things similar to the Great Depression with unemployment rates higher than 20% easily. We could see homelessness, and it can be looked at as the norm easily, because we live in a society which is called just-in-time delivery system, okay? And if you go to the supermarkets, you'll notice during the day, you'll notice people walking around with handheld scanning devices. And some places do it every day. They order new food every day. And they're relying on these products to hit the shelves within a couple days, sometimes within 24 hours. And the problem with that is that people are just not prepared to handle any type of disruption in this just-in-time delivery system. And focusing on Brexit, which is a name given for the Great Britain exit of the European Union, they will lose the privileges of trading freely with members of the European Union. And one of the biggest highlights is Northern Ireland. So they are literally going to split an island in half and put up checkpoints to prevent free trade from continuing between Northern Ireland and the rest of Ireland, the Republic of Ireland. And this will cause a disruption in the just-in-time delivery system. And we may only have to wait a couple months before we see some of the ramifications of that. It can happen in America. It will happen in America. America is not too big to fail. Because the saying that goes, the bigger they are, the harder they fall, applies here especially. This market crash is going to affect every single sector. And we could see many jobs being lost. If there is, let me give you an example which I don't think will end up happening. However, it is possible. For example, look at Venezuela. Venezuela has the largest provable oil reserves on planet Earth. But they're having trouble getting the oil out of the ground. Pretty sure that is the case. So if there would be war in the Middle East, okay, Iran has control over I believe it's the Strait of Hormuz, a large shipping corridor where all of the oil from boat moves out of. And yes, America produces its own. But if there is social chaos that might hinder America's production of oil. Now, if oil were to double in price overnight, war broke out, the suit and ties from Wall Street started speculating and saying prices are going to go up. And there was panic in supermarkets. started charging extra. Well, that's exactly what would happen. You see, the cost to ship things, because your bread is not grown down the street at the farmer, unless you shop local, which is what I encourage you to do. It costs more money. But by establishing a relationship with your local farmers, not only are you getting on their good side, but you're helping your entire community prep for this change. The price of shipping everything will go through the roof. Car parts, most are made in China. Computers, cell phones, made in China. How often at your job does a computer or a car part break? Plastics. I'm pretty sure, I don't want to say all plastics come from oil, because there are alternatives. However, if oil goes up, so does plastics. And so you see, just here with 3 examples, everything is going to become more expensive. And people will not be able to pay rent, and companies will start laying off, depending on the size of the company. Or if it's a small company, 1 or 2 workers over a small time span. Larger companies will start laying off workers in the tens and the hundreds, and it will just have a cascading effect as production decreases. And once that ball starts rolling, there's no telling when it will stop. What unemployment rate do you think is suitable? How many people do you think have truly independent, essential jobs in this modern lifestyle that we live? You think 50% of America has an essential job? Farmers can't even farm without oil these days. How many farmers do you see plowing a field with a cow, with an ox, and putting a yoke on them and pulling the plow? How many? That's why I don't want to sit here and give you numbers of what the unemployment will be and how many people will lose their jobs. Because if I tell you 30%, you'll say, no way, that's larger than the Great Depression. But if I tell you 30%, it could be 50%. If I tell you 50%, it could be 75% unemployed. Because go around and ask 75% of your friends what their job is. And it's all non-essential. Is your friend a mechanic? Well, most of the car parts come from outside the country. And that's just the way it is. And in all honesty, it starts with you. You are the person who wakes up and chooses to pay less for something that's made cheaper from further away. And that's the way it is. You get what you pay for. You vote with your dollars before you vote with your ballot. And that's a fact. I'm not perfect. I fall victim to purchasing cheap goods that come from out of this country. Clothing in particular. But this market crash will happen, and it will involve a very high number of unemployed. And once that begins, everything will evolve from a slowdown to a stop. And what do you do then? By then, it's too late. By then, it's too late. Go read books of what happened to the Soviet Union, their collectivization, and their checkup program, and their gulags, their work camps. Go see what happened. See how that turns out. See if that's, what you want. Go see what happened during the Great Depression. Read Grapes of Wrath. You see, you have an opportunity to make a change. Not only in your life, but in the lives of people around you. And potentially the lives of people that you haven't met yet. By making the proper moves now and doing your due diligence now, you might meet that person or people that will change your life for the better. But if you don't, you might never meet that people, and you'll never know. You'll just never know. How can you know already in your life the choices that you have and haven't made that have changed the futures that you haven't and will not lived? So what are these choices that we can make? Well, on my screen here that you've been staring at is the top 100 cryptocurrencies by market capitalization. We have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, EOS, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Tether, and I can scroll down and show you more and more and more, but that's unimportant. The fact of the matter is that you have two alternatives to fiat currency. That's gold, silver, copper, platinum, palladium, any type of heavy metal. They are an asset. Just like real estate is an asset, cars are an asset. However, cars will always depreciate in value unless they get towards the antique side, but then you don't want to drive it. What good does it do for you? And so Bitcoin is a digital currency, and a lot of people will be turned off by the fact that it's a digital currency. I myself, for the longest time, watched Bitcoin for years, and I did not get in when it was 10 cents in 2010. 2012. I think it was developed in 2010. Well, that's another story. 2012, 2013, when it was cheap, prior to Mt. Gox, after Mt. Gox. I said, it's digital. Why would I go from fiat, paper, digital, numbers on a screen, to more digital numbers on a screen? Arguably less secure than the shoebox in your closet or the stack of money that you keep under your mattress or in the bookshelf. And so I continued to stack silver and gold when I could. But I'm going to tell you, cryptocurrency is the future. And as Dabu has said and made a very important video, it is the mark of the beast. No man or woman will be able to conduct business without it. But like I said, it is a moment of freedom. It's an opportunity. Look at the prices. You can get in now. Before Bitcoin goes to 20,000 again, and past 20,000 to 50,000, 100,000. Ignore this number, market cap. That's irrelevant. Because when these central banks all around the world start printing more and more and more and more and more money, when printing a few trillion dollars is the norm, this market cap is going to reach astronomical numbers. And so will the price of all of these assets. Which one? That's another discussion. But I'd say any of the top 5 are a safe bet. And place your bets wisely, but place your bets on more than one. And you can still buy silver. You can still buy gold. And you don't have to buy 1 ounce. You can buy 10 ounces of silver. You can buy 1 gram of gold. You can go to the pawn shop and buy jewelry. It will be of value. If we remember the 2008 crisis, the housing crisis, the 2008 crisis began right around here. And the price of gold was less than $1,000, and it went all the way up. $1,889 per ounce. Silver, currently right around that $15 mark, all the way up to $50. I prefer silver. I think the return on investment for silver will be greater. However, getting both would be a good option. And so having this silver, having this gold, having this cryptocurrency, this will be the important factor in enabling your future. Not the job that you hold, not the degree that you hold. Because this is not just an economic meltdown. This is not just a market crash or a market explosion. Because as we saw with the latest tax cuts for the super rich, for the big corporations, we didn't see McDonald's starting to serve twice the amount of food, or we didn't see McDonald's bringing back the dollar menu. No. Because having more money does not make you hire more people. What we saw was the stock market increase. And the figures coming back now are showing the housing market is wobbling, so to speak. Homelessness is rising. But I thought the economy was doing better. The markets are doing better. Because all those corporations took their money and instead of investing in the people, because they don't believe in the people, they invested in the stock market. All those buddies are all partying on $10,000 champagne bottles, eating caviar and shrimp. talking about which stocks they're going to pump and which stocks they're going to dump. That's right. That's what they're doing. And yeah, they're manipulating Bitcoin. But like I said, yes, this is going to be a market crash or a market explosion. We could see unemployment at 90%. We could see the Dow hit 100,000. The Nasdaq. We could see Dow Jones hit 100,000 for all we know. But this is also going to be the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of mankind. A transfer of wealth from one system to the next. Big business is in on cryptocurrency. They like it. It's faster. It's more secure. They can track it a whole lot better than they can track cash, and that's what they want. The Native Americans were taken out by alcohol and smallpox, but most of all, in the physical wars that they fought, they were taken out by guns. And guns were a new invention that they didn't know about. But they did everything they could to get their hands on guns. Because on one side of the coin, guns were their demise. They knew that attaining guns was a game changer for them. And just like that, yes, Bitcoin will enslave us. But if we purchase Bitcoin now, it'll buy us time to figure out what to do then. It is the mark of the beast. They will track every transaction on planet Earth. You can't stop it. Just like the Native Americans. They couldn't pray to their any of their gods to prevent guns from firing upon them. They had to attain them. And they did. And while they are not thriving by any means now, they're still here. They're still fighting. And regarding the final cause, the final trigger, I know many people have their eyes on Deutsche Bank and Brexit. But it is of my opinion that nothing will happen. Nothing. Like you see in the movies, the car will be halfway over the edge of the cliff, teetering back and forth. But it will not fall until the prophecy begins. The temple, the third temple. Once this temple is blessed by a certain figure, and you can read into eschatology of any religion, even the Hopi have an uncanny resemblance of their end times eschatology to a culture that they had not met till arguably $1800s. Even their eschatology is so similar to the way that it all goes down, whether it be any of the Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, or Islam. It's all identical. And this is what you need to be on the lookout for. The third temple. The sacrifices begin after the building of the third temple. And that's not to say that we will not see huge economic meltdowns prior to that. Australia right now is currently going through a housing market crash. Canada is on the brink of a housing market crash. Brexit will potentially crash many European countries. There's currently Venezuela already crashed. But that's it for now. A brief overview of the market, what you need to do, some of the things you need to do to get prepared, how this change will affect you. And it's inevitable. Everything that I said was true. And the jobs that you hold, the dollars that you hold, the car that you own, the house that you live in or rent, it's all temporary. Just like our bodies in this journey, whatever it is. It's all temporary. And if you can see past this indoctrination that they've given us of being a slave, waking up, and having no choice whatsoever, just the illusion of choice, maybe you'll be able to see that it's like a game of musical chairs. And when the music stops, you don't want to be one without a chair. Get your gold, get your silver, get your Bitcoin. Lead will be a resource as well. Food, water, land. Land that you can defend. Land that you can grow your own food, produce your own food, produce your own goods for barter. That's the change that is coming to America and the rest of the world. It will happen. It is happening. When? I'm surprised we're still carrying on as we do right now. We'll see. We'll see. This was the first attempt of mine at Underground World News. And I'm going to wrap it up.